back to your story.
I was just saying that the biggest online beef right now with like TikTok and Twitter is the Diamond District in New York City, where all the jewels are sold. The sales guys, like the owners of the jewelry stores, are beefing, and they kind of share a collective. They all have this like one shared collective space. They all rent a booth in it, so they're all in the same building, right next to each other, down the street from each other. But it's basically one street. And recently, a guy pawned himself off as Trax NYC and sold a fake bracelet. And Trax defended himself and went in and just went ballistic to where he's like, like slamming the bracelet on the table and screaming like, "Where is my money?" And it got real heated. And, so the question is like, how far are you willing to like go to protect your reputation? Like, when it comes to like your livelihood, to come to, like a business and, like, how you support your family. Because if you lose your reputation in the diamond industry, your reputation, your business is done. I mean, if people don't believe you and you're selling fake merchandise, it has a lot more implications than like a UFC fighter fighting, talking trash, trying to sell tickets.
No, it's the same. If you lose your reputation, you lose your reputation. Doesn't matter if you're selling jewelry, you're selling beer at a hot tamale place, you're selling sponsorship, you're a bodybuilder. So no, I mean, if somebody tries to rip you off or rip your name off, rip you off, then yeah, you should do everything under the law to protect your reputation.
Yeah, but I went there, and I knew that Moses is a big UFC fan. He's sits cage side. He does a lot for the UFC to like promote on social media. He's got a huge influence, obviously. So it was good to ask him, and being a watch guy, being like a Rolex expert, I asked him about the 12-6 rule, where John Jones, the GOAT in many people's eyes, has his only disqualification or asterisk on his career because of the 12-6. So he thinks, according to Moses, that it should be eliminated.
He's wrong.
And he's undisputed, undefeated GOAT of all time.
He's wrong. And I responded to what you put up. He's wrong. And anybody who believes that is wrong. And that's just not my opinion. That's a fact. You can't change. If it's illegal when you did it, it's illegal. Now, just because they've now made it legal, it doesn't change when John Jones fought Matt Hamill, the 12-6 was illegal. He was disqualified. What my problem is there's been numerous similarities, and one has been a no contest who had been on our show a few times, and John Jones was a DQ. That was the ref's decision at the time. I'm sorry. John Jones is the GOAT, and John Jones has a disqualification on his record. You can't, pardon that. You can't change that. It was illegal at the time.
Well,
you want me to continue, or you want to call Aaron Hernandez back or whatever his name is and put him on the phone, and I'll tell him again?
No, Aaron Hernandez hung up, remember? He couldn't get on. I was waiting, but he just gave up.
So what is the jeweled and his ripped off blah, blah, blah have to do with the UFC?
Well, I mean, it's real beef, it's real hatred. And I don't think you're shaking hands afterwards. I don't think you're just going back about your business and have to see each other every day. I think eventually it becomes violent. I think eventually it becomes more than just online verbiage. I think you have your goons, and they've all got their posses and their security details. They're moving millions of dollars worth of product a month, gold and silver and diamonds and Rolexes. And then there's too much money at play to play with someone's reputation. And I think it gets real violent, and I think it gets really street level justice. And but it was just interesting to see the take on it, since most of the UFC trash talk is fake. It's just for hype. It's just for eyeballs. It's just for attention. It's just for pay-per-views. But then after they're done, they shake hands. They go out to dinner with their families. They're best friends online. I don't think this one's the same case.
No, well, it's different. I mean, I totally get that. That is real, and you're right. A lot of the BS, a lot of the talk, is straight that. It's to sell fights.
But it's cool to see that the UFC makes its way into other industries and other, because fans are all over the board, right? So you have people of all walks of life who are fans of the UFC, who go to fights, who attend in person, who enjoy the competition. So, it was cool to see, one of the biggest social media influencers and one of the biggest names in the Diamond District is a big, fan of the UFC. So, Knockout Radio jersey on and getting the interview and getting to go behind the glass, behind the curtain to get the interview in a place where most people don't get to go. It was cool. It was cool that Knockout Radio was respected and they open up doors, in an area, in an arena that has nothing to do with us.
True that.
It just shows you the reach. It just shows you how much range we really have as the longest running MMA show in the country and as a voice in the martial art community and the combat sport industry, but how we have range to go into other industries and network with other people across the board. It was cool to see how we were welcomed and received, especially since we were outsiders to the New York City, zone.
But you're not thinking and agreeing with street violence up there in the Diamond District, are you?
I don't know. I think words have repercussions, and I think people act like they're invincible because the law's on their side, or they feel like, oh, somebody has too much to lose, or they were not willing to lose their business or their freedom to vindicate their reputation or their namesake. And I think with the Cain Velasquez, all it takes is one person who doesn't have that same respect for that bubble people live in to pop that bubble and make people prove their manhood. So I'm look, if you're going to talk trash and try to snake people and discredit their reputation and sell fake shit on the internet, fake stuff on the internet, I think you get what you deserve. And I think that goes universally across all platforms. And it's that fence that is, is it to keep you out or is it to keep you safe from me? Right? Like you don't really know what that protective bubble is. It's a two-way street.
Well, I think that was, what was his name? Steve was Springer's bodyguard.
Yeah.
Right. And then Steve went and did his own show. And he had a bodyguard there. And I remember one time there was a confrontation and he was like, the bodyguard's not there to protect you from Steve. It's to protect you from Steve.
Yeah.
Steve ain't worried about you.
That's right.
But you better be worried about Steve.
And I think the world is too comfortable and the world's too like in a place where they feel like so protected because of social media and keyboard warriors, and people have this like entitlement and they think they can say things without repercussion and then they just act reckless. And I think in the Diamond District, I think it's as real as you will get because of just the environment that it's in, the money that's involved, and the stakes are so high. I think people actually will make it physical, on a drop of a hat.
No, I could see that. I mean, I can see it. I'm not for it. Again, it's street justice. And street justice, Cain Velasquez has consequences. I get it, your reputation, this, that, the other, but isn't there, in the case you're talking about, isn't there a way for him to prove that he had nothing to do with that? And if he's as well respected, it's a fight, but that fight makes more sense than street justice to me.
Well, he had the actual guy who got ripped off on the live stream with the receipt to show that he was, what do you call it, hoodwinked or scammed or, and so he did his part. But then after the video was recorded, he went there in person to confront the guy who ripped off the guy and pretended to be Trax NYC because they're in a collective where Trax NYC is like the name on the banner on the front of the door. But when you walk in, it's like a flea market. There's like 15 different booths, 15 different jewelry cases, 15 different owners that run each little section. But the biggest name on the building was Trax NYC. So the guy pretended that it was a Trax NYC product. So there's like that gray area where he didn't necessarily say it was a Trax jewelry. He just pretended that it was the same location, same place as what's on the door. So I think that's where the shadiness comes in, right?
Right. So then why would Trax feel like he misrepresented? The guy ripped that person off, and it has nothing to do with him. I mean, that's proven. You know that. You've proved it. So you don't need any street justice. And if it's illegal what he did, why can't he be arrested?
Yeah, well, that's another question. That's above my pay grade, though. So I don't know. But how would you handle it? What would you have done in that situation?
Well,
What if a guy pretended to be Knockout Radio,
and
puts
they're
on a jersey, walked into the Diamond District and starts doing interviews under Knockout Radio? What would you do?
There's nothing you can do. I mean, there's nothing you can do. There's other Knockout Radios out there. There are ripoffs. And yeah, you could go after them money-wise and sue and, cease and desist and all that. But what does that do? What does that prove? You're spending money foolishly because it doesn't, you can't stop. You can't stop people from starting YouTube channels. You can't stop. And YouTube's not going to allow you to stop or make you stop. So, you just have to hope that it's obvious, when if you listen to this show, who the knuckleheads that are involved at some point. And if somebody else steals a banner or a flag or anybody else, any of the other radio stations throughout Tampa Bay, Florida, the United States, the country, whatever.
Speaking of radio stations across the country, didn't Tampa just let go of another longtime on-air personality? Didn't one of the stations just let go of I forget his name, something Rob something Dodd. Oh man, if he said his name, I would probably know it. But
I don't know what it's about.
God, it was just last week. He announced on his social media that he was terminated and let go. I think he was with iHeartRadio or I don't know. I figured you'd know him since he's a media personality in Tampa. But it seems like those older media guys are like, they're becoming extinct. Networks, they don't bring in the ad revenue they once did. They don't have the kind of viewership and listeners. Seems like they're all just kind of falling to the wayside.
Well, it's just the money. You can get other people, and there's other radio stations in town that they barely pay their on-air personality. And so they can get rid of the big dollar people, especially if the revenue's not coming in. That's how they cut back. And there's others that are still flourishing in the Tampa Bay area and in, areas across the country and across the world. So, it is what it is. But if you can get the same show basically done, why wouldn't you go less?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. How long before radio is non-existent?
I don't know. I know that you've been saying it's been dead for a while. It's still there. It's certainly not what it was, when I was younger. But I still think it's there. How many people don't have satellite radio? I don't. Do you have satellite radio?
No.
Okay. So I don't know that if it'll ever be dead. Now, music, talk, whatever, sponsorship, revenue, dollars coming in. People are always going to want to advertise on a good product. And if you can prove that people are listening and watching, we're live right now on the YouTube channel.
Well, yeah,
so
I mean, everything's streamed, everything's like direct to consumer content. So, it's that's my point is that, well, unless it's like a dentist's office or something where it's just background music, I don't know the last time I actually listened to an actual radio program. I don't know the last time I actually tuned in to listen to like FM or AM in my car because my Apple connects and I play all my music that I want to from YouTube Music. And I mean, that's also brings me to a point of I saw a sign in New York City, an A-frame sign on the sidewalk, and said, "How come we don't call Apple chargers, Apple Juice or your iPhone?" So, like, that was a pretty clever sign. I put it on my social media today.
it's pretty corny.
It is corny, but it's cool. Apple Juice.
No,
It's cool.
I get it. I mean, it kind of makes sense. I do get it, but no, I don't think radio's going anywhere. I understand, and I've succumbed to podcasts or work. I used to always say, I do live radio, I do real radio, I do FCC radio. Podcasts work as well. I get that, but I don't foresee it ever disappearing and going away.
Yeah, I guess.
I asked Mike Straka before he had his meltdown. Give me your thoughts on the Canadian curling team cheating in the Olympics.
Yeah, where they're putting their finger. I don't know. It was a women's team, right? Sticking their finger where it doesn't belong or something.
No, it was the men's team, but
Oh, well, that makes it even worse, I guess.
and then the Canadian guy started to yell the words that Straka had been saying all day for the last 2.5 hours. And there's video of it, but there's video of him when the hand leaves the stone or the rock, and then his finger would go and kind of guide it along. According to the rules that I understand, that's cheating.
Yeah, I mean, if it's in the rule set, but then again, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right?
Right, but if you get caught, then you're cheating.
But which is more offensive, the finger in the stone or the Michael Jordan finger of the boy after the celebration of his NASCAR championship?
I didn't see it, but I heard that he got like the confetti or something off the kid. Come on.
Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, it looked like he was trying to put his finger in a stone. It was bad. You should watch the video. It was not a good look for MJ.
All views from the idiot Matt McClellan are the views of Matt McClellan only, not Knockout Radio.
Not my views. I just saw I saw it on social media.
With Knockout Radio. So
I watched it. I saw it the same way everybody else did. I saw the video.
whatever.
It didn't look good. It wasn't a good look for Mikey.
All right, it's break time, so let's go hit that break, and we'll come back, and Matt will be with us for one more segment, and coming up, the analytics of this weekend's UFC when we return.